How's it going, guys? It's the Pretty Boy Offense. My name's Saj, and we're going to do a breakdown of all the Week 5 NFL results from this weekend, how they, affect all of our fantasy picks, or not fantasy, our survivor picks moving forward. Kind of these reviews, these week reviews, I try and go through like what we learned about teams, what it kind of means for them moving forward. But this was a really interesting week. I just finished watching all these games yesterday, and I was going to make a video, but then because normally I skip the Monday night games and just get you a video on Monday. But I really wanted to watch the Monday night game because a lot of things kind of made sense on Sunday. And if the Monday night game kind of fell into that category as well, I think we can really start, understanding what the NFL looks like. And it wasn't that like things changed this week. It was just that like these ideas that we had of teams have kind of been solidified. And we saw that in what looked like they were going to be upsets. These expectations of these teams that were off to hot starts are kind of come back down to earth and stuff. And this is all we wanted when we were like picking teams. So this is awesome. It all kind of fell in line, and we're just going to start from the Thursday night game, finish on the Monday night. And yeah, without any further ado, Rams versus Seahawks. So 26-17 for the Rams. What did we learn in this? It was that, it's a divisional game. And like we said, divisional games are always more hotly contested. The Rams are head and shoulders the better team, better roster. I think they have better coaching and stuff. The only place Seattle's probably better is the quarterback, but Matthew Stafford's like no slouch. But we've seen something continue in this game that was an issue with Stafford in the Arizona game, where he's an incredible quarterback. He's so physically talented. He can spin it, unreal arm, incredible like arm angles and stuff. But I think part of why people didn't really fall in love with him in Detroit was because he did have moments like this that just kind of get swept under the rug, where his moments of greatness are so high, but there are so many games where he wasn't helping his team get better. And we're going to talk about a quarterback later in this, Baker Mayfield, that is also not really helping their team get better. And I think with Stafford, you just got to believe that he's more consistently helping Sean McVay like execute that offense as opposed to what Jared Goff was the last few years. And I think that's okay of an assumption, but what is this true ceiling of this Rams team? What can be achieved is high, but how often it can be achieved, it's not a guarantee. And I know nothing in the NFL is guaranteed, but the talk of Matt Stafford coming to the Rams was that it was almost going to be like a game in, game out expectation now for this offense was to be as great as they were that Super Bowl year. But it's looking like Matthew Stafford is the human we kind of all assumed he was, and we're just like, kind of enamored by like the what ifs of if he was in like New England, or if he was on the Rams, or if he was on like all these other teams with good coaches and stuff. Well, yeah, his highs are high, but he still has these moments of just missing receivers, being out of rhythm, and kind of affecting his team. I don't want to say negatively, but just holding them back a bit. And that's just the Matthew Stafford thing. There's still nothing wrong with Matthew Stafford, great quarterback, but it's just something I noticed in this game. And the Seahawks, well, we're obviously going to have to talk the injuries, the finger injuries for both Stafford and Wilson. I think moving forward, just while we were talking about the Rams, be cautious about any time you want to take the Rams. I really probably wouldn't take the Rams like their next like game, and let's see what Stafford's finger looks like. I'm a Cardinals fan, and when Carson Palmer hurt his finger against the Eagles right before their playoff run in 2015, it affected all of his throws, and it is a big important part for a lot of quarterbacks, your finger health, and like how much you can actually like keep on the point, how much you actually rip it, spin it, and stuff like that. So that is important. And if Stafford's going through those ruts of like off throws, and he's also gonna have like be nursing back a finger injury, that may be too many variables for me to be comfortable with Stafford without seeing him perform since this game. And then with Russell Wilson, that the defense with Russell Wilson, he's injured, so he's going to be out. I think as long as Geno Smith's the quarterback, we're not going to try and get cheeky. Like, you're in Survivor, you want to make it to the end, you want to make it as far as you go. This isn't the way to do it. Don't try and sneak like victories with a Geno Smith-led Seahawks team. Just stay away from them. I don't want to say pick against the Seahawks just yet. They do have a talented receiving core, so and what's great about like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf is they make big plays live. So if Geno Smith can throw the ball down the field, they could win, and they could be like, upset potential teams, like teams that could upset. But we don't want to touch those at all moving forward until Wilson comes back fully healthy, which looks like it might be about a month, 5 weeks or something like that. So Yeah, that's kind of what I took away from that game. Defense is healthy, looked good and everything like that for the Rams, but the Hawks, still no defense. Jamal Adams is completely lost in that secondary. There's a reason he blitzes now. It's because he doesn't know what to do in coverage, and it's a shame because I love Jamal Adams, and I think he's just being wasted there, the way they're using him. So, all right, so early game Sunday morning, Jets and Falcons. 27-20 for the Falcons. Now this game was interesting. We started seeing Matt Ryan get back to being a productive quarterback, knowing what he could do, and I think there's definitely a correlation between the receiver like Calvin Ridley and stuff not making the trip, and then Matt Ryan being limited to just Cordell Patterson, Kyle Pitts, and using Tajay Sharp and stuff like that. Because Kyle Pitts had his best game as a rookie. And of the season so far, and I've been a big ambassador for play Pitts as a receiver because all of his talents that make him this exceptional tight end are what also make him this incredible receiving threat. So just use him as a receiver because right now he's not being utilized, and you've wasted that pick if you're just going to let him just be on a field and not do anything. Well, in this game, they didn't have to worry about distribution, over planning. It was Matt Ryan, give the ball to your good players. Cordero Patterson had a good game. Kyle Pitts had a good game. It was really great to see. And, I don't know what to do with Calvin Ridley then coming back to this offense because maybe it's just a situation of it's getting those guys acclimated to the speed, to the system. This is what distribution is going to look like. I don't know what the talk is in the locker room, but this is kind of beyond Arthur Smith's system right now. He's got to figure out how to use these weapons appropriately and use these weapons appropriately that, helps you win games as well, especially when your defense is as bad as it is. And the Falcons defense is still really bad. They couldn't even stop the Jets. So it's sometimes it seems like it might be an issue having too many weapons for Arthur Smith, especially when they're not running back. I know Cordero Patterson's technically the running back, but Arthur Smith's used to using Derrick Henry, using a lot of RPOs and stuff like that. And that's not really happening here in Atlanta. It's a different hierarchy in terms of what's required from this offense because you don't have the running back that can take that load, so you have to do a throwing. And I think he's still trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I make that offense work with all these weapons? And he's just in over his head a bit, but he's kind of coming to it, especially when it gets a little easier when certain options are taken out. And then on the Jets side, the Jets are just a bad team, but you're seeing Wilson make some throws that are impressive, but man, there's a lot of interceptions. I got to talk about the rookie quarterbacks in a video, but this is a lot of growing pains. This is one of the most difficult years to be a rookie quarterback. I think we haven't seen a year like this where players across the board have struggled in terms of the quarterbacks outside of Mac Jones, but yeah, it's getting rough. But yeah, the Jets were still picking against them. The Falcons, it was nice to see them pick something up. It was nice to see Matt Ryan's arm look a little better as well. But I don't think we're not picking against the Falcons just yet because if that offense starts clicking, that's something I don't want to be in front of, especially if it's a buzzsaw if Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Cordell Patterson are all operating properly. So stay away from the Falcons, but we'll keep picking against the Jets. So the next game, Patriots-Texans. So this was, holy shit, almost one of the big upsets that would have helped a lot of you guys in your pools. But Patriots pull it out. They get the 25, beat the Texans 25-22. Mac Jones looked good. He just, as good as Mac Jones looks. I hate saying game manager, but he does what he's supposed to. He gets the ball to his players. And they won the game. It was 16 unanswered points, which is awesome. The Texans, though, are kind of who I want to talk about. Davis Mills, this was the best game he's had, and I was surprised. Bill Belichick normally just baptizes rookie quarterbacks. They always play terrible against him. He's always got a game plan that can affect them so heavily and throw them off their game. But holy shit, Davis Mills looked good in this game, and he was completing passes. He was had a little movement to him. He was way more confident making throws too. They weren't over. He was going through some reads and progressions that were super comfortable, and they had a lead. It looked like this was going to be a Texans win, but the Patriots came back, saved a lot of people, and kept going. So moving forward, it's tough because I talk about this game and it's outside the Davis Mills thing, there's not much that we haven't already covered with the Texans. We're looking for things to start changing, and if things aren't changing, then that means that the consistency's there. We can start appropriately betting against or betting for these teams. So it's a good thing that these videos are going to get shorter. But yeah, the Patriots, they are what we are. You know, a steady speed. Mac Jones can manage the game. They can score enough points to win games. We'll take them against bad teams, but you know, once they're against like middling teams, like you know, those games will get close and they could probably lose those, so we won't take them then. So Patriots are a sneaky one, but the Texans, we're gonna keep picking against the Texans. They kind of seem a little snake bitten. I know there's really no science to like a snake bitten cursed team, but just feels like, yeah, you're doing some good things, just like Detroit. They're doing some good things, but you're not gonna get the wins. So yeah, Texans, as long as you know they have Davis Mills there. Once Tyrod Taylor comes back, then we'll evaluate them appropriately. So Lions Vikings, another game that looked like it was going to be a huge upset for survivor pools, but Vikings pull it off. Feel bad for Dan Campbell, but holy geez, what a game! I know a lot of people were sweating this. I know a lot of people had said that they wanted to take the Vikings this week, and geez, like that was a close one, but you guys got it. That's awesome. Was the right pick this week, because with some of those other games I talked about, like you know, Panthers and Eagles, like they lost, and that, like, again, like these teams were a little too close, but we'll talk about that in a second. So what do we learn about that? This is the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a team that either play up or play down to their opponent, and that's a good and a bad thing, because I think with this roster, more often than not, this roster should be winning games that are close. They have the weapons, they have the quarterback that's playing well, they have the running back, the O-line's good, and the O-line exists. I won't say good enough, but the O-line exists. You know, the defense is, I think, overperforming from what they were last year and stuff, especially they got healthy this year, so that's always good. But yeah, the Vikings are going to be a tough one to pick week in, week out, like where we stand on them, because if they keep playing up or playing down to their opponent, then like we said with like the Patriots, like those games go either way. It all depends on who has the ball last, and it kind of felt like Detroit was going to have the ball last, but you know, the Vikings got it and, you know, scored that game-winning kick. And then the Lions, yeah, I think we just have to keep picking against the Lions. They're showing so much heart and stuff like that, but, you know, that doesn't really count for anything on the scoreboard. So you're going to be losing games. They just don't have it figured out yet. Jared Goff he's playing well enough. Like, people hate on Jared Goff, but Jared Goff is a quarterback with an arm that can make almost all the throws in the NFL. He's a veteran. He knows defenses. He can control the line of scrimmage well enough. I know McVay's in his headset late when he was in like on the Rams, but he knows enough that he can go out and succeed. The problem is his weapons there. He doesn't have a lot of receivers that he can lean to, so that kind of holds them back. If they had like one or two weapons, then I think that team probably could have had one or two wins as well. But, you know, when it's all on the quarterback like that with mediocre talent, then it kind of sucks. So we'll keep picking against the Lions. Vikings are what we were, play up or play down to their opponent, kind of similar boat as the Patriots. You know, you don't really want to bet for unless the matchup is like kind of super transparent. All right, so Bears Raiders. Yeah, like, I mean, what do we say about the Raiders? This is what I was talking about with the Raiders. Always seem like a team that kind of has like hot moments, but then falls off, and they're falling off right now with some behind the scenes stuff. So I think the Raiders moving forward, they're safe to bet against. Derek Carr can dump it off to Darren Waller all he wants, but there's going to be a lot of negative press there. There's going to be, and by negative, I just mean like this is what they're going to be asked about for like 2, 3, 4 weeks. Their owner has to start reevaluating what they want. They haven't drafted well, so like maybe they got to start looking at like new GMs and stuff as well. Like maybe this is their opportunity just to clean house, right? And if that's the case, like what's the situation there with Derek Carr? Does he get put on the chopping block? Maybe get sent somewhere for a trade? You know, all these things the Raiders got to start considering now, because the Gruden 10-year plan is gone. So yeah, we're going to be picking against the Raiders whenever we can, whenever the matchup makes sense. And with the Bears, yeah, the Bears. Okay, so the Bears are getting results. I looked at the Bears record and I was like pleasantly surprised, because I'm like, it would be nice if they're winning, but I'm not convinced that the Bears with Nagy and even with Laser calling plays right now is a team I would ever want to bet on. They're just a little too much up in the air. I think they got the Raiders at a really good time with like all this going on to get a win, and is what I mean. But I would stay away from the Bears. I think as long as they have Justin Fields as their quarterback, until Justin Fields shows that he's kind of like not even like a world breaker, but like competent enough to like pair with that defense, then I wouldn't be betting on the Bears. But yeah, we'll be betting against the Raiders whenever we can. Okay, Giants and Cowboys. This was another pick for the week. Cowboys, good team versus bad team. And then good team versus bad team. Bad team got absolutely hit by a truck. I mean, everyone got injured. Saquon, Jones, Kenny Galladay, Tony had a coming out party. Good for him. But yeah, as long as Giants players are injured, I think I'm going to start, keep an eye on Daniel Jones, because this game could have been a different game if Daniel Jones didn't, get absolutely pummeled in the head and couldn't walk off the field. So we're going to be picking against the Giants, as long as Saquon's out, as long as Galladay's out. But we'll keep an eye on Daniel Jones, because if he comes out of concussion protocol, then that makes us a little more weary. But the Giants are, kind of what they've been doing the last few weeks. It's a confident quarterback, keeping that franchise afloat, keeping that team competitive in games and in moments that they shouldn't be. And if he's not at 100%, then I don't have any faith in this team to pull itself out. Even if like Daniel Jones was playing or wasn't playing and it was Mike Glennon and like everybody else on that team was healthy, I would have less confidence in that team than I would Daniel Jones without Saquon, without Galladay, and without some weapons. Because Daniel Jones is receiver proof this year. He's been producing without some of his top guys, and that's the only reason they've been in games. That's the only reason they've been getting points. Like, he's one of the top rated quarterbacks in the NFL because of what he's been doing himself, not with his team. So yeah, keep it on Daniel Jones. As long as he's out, we're betting against the Giants. And then the Cowboys, good team. We'll take them when we can. If you took them this week, that was awesome. That was a good week to take them just to pummel the Giants. And yeah, they're just really finding their groove. I think I'm super comfortable. I think the Cowboys are one of the best, like the top 3 teams in the league. Probably them and the Bills and maybe the Chargers. So they're probably my top 3 picks right now until Tampa gets healthy and then they make a run for it. But yeah, so not much to learn there. Pick the Cowboys when you can if you need a good team. And the Giants will be picking against as long as Daniel Jones isn't playing. If Daniel Jones is playing, then we'll figure that out. But here's the other game, Eagles-Panthers. I was so interested in this game. The Panthers were one of my picks this week to win, and they had that chance to win. But Sam Darnold, we saw the old Sam Darnold, the New York Jets ghost Sam Darnold, throwing some interceptions where he shouldn't have. And they were like easy interceptions too. It's not like he tried to force it in there and there was a 50-50 ball. It was like lane throws that kind of behind receivers, played it to the corners easy. That's like, and you hate to see it because it would have helped us so much more if the Panthers were a legitimately good team. And like them and the Broncos had their question marks coming out of those 3-0 starts where it was like, okay, well, how legitimate is this start? Because you guys have kind of had cupcake schedules. You had number 1 defense, Carolina, but like look who you were stopping. It wasn't relevant. And I still don't think the Eagles are a good team. I still think the Eagles are a bad team. But what happens with the Eagles is they have Jalen Hurts, who still doesn't play quarterback all that well, but he adds the running game. He can scoot and run in for those touchdowns. He can make plays on his legs so that he can cheat yards, cheat like an offense and stuff like that. He makes up for all he's like a worse Daniel Jones, right? So he makes up for all the shortcomings of the team. And in this situation with the Panthers, and I know the Panthers are dealing with some injuries right now on their defense especially, but they weren't ready for a guy that was as mobile as he was. And ultimately it was their downfall, coupling that with the Darnold, like going back to, the Jets, looking Darnold that we've seen before. Now, was that Brady? Was that Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator? Was that Joe Brady calling this game? Was that Darnold? I think it was on Darnold. Definitely. You saw the calls, and the calls were no different than anything he was doing before. He was just on time. He was on target those games, and it made sense those games. This game, it just felt like the first interception, and we kind of saw this in the Dallas game, where one interception led to another, where I think he just got into his own head. And in the NFL, you can't be like that. If you make a mistake, it's got to be okay, move on. You got to be better. You can't just live in that moment. And I think Sam Darnold, after he threw that interception, early in the game, kind of got in a rut, wasn't feeling it. It still doesn't help that Christian McCaffrey wasn't healthy, because I think in a situation where you throw an interception and you have Christian McCaffrey, you kind of call a bit more run plays or dump off plays. And when that guy's there, he's making so many big plays. It'll get your confidence back up. It'll make you feel like you don't have to do everything for the team. But yeah, ultimately hurt the team, was the reason they lost. Also, that defense not being able to solve Jalen Hurts, just the Panthers all around. So moving forward, we're going to start actually looking into picking against the Panthers, because I think this Panthers team and the Panthers team we saw against Dallas are the true Panthers. I don't think that 3-0 team that was like destroying people, they're like helpless teams. I don't think that's the real Panthers. I think this is the real Panther team that we all kind of expected. Quick note on Stefan Gilmore. I don't think that helps the team at all. He's still got to learn the system and get acclimated, and he's coming off IR for whatever what that's worth. He's got to get I think healthy, quote unquote healthy again, game healthy again. So, and the Eagles still think they're a bad team, just an opportunistic one. They'll punish you if you're bad. Like if the Eagles were to play teams like the Patriots and stuff like that, did they play this year? Fuck, if they did, I'm sorry. But it's like one of those teams that, again, kind of like the Vikings, play down. They won't punish you, or they will punish you. Sorry, they will punish you if you're just like lackadaisical, because they have the explosivity to make a move. If any of that made sense, I kind of rambled there. Holy shit! All right, next game, Saints Washington. This is what I wanted. I wanted to see Jameis Winston throw the ball more, and he did. And he did that Hail Mary, and that was like uncontested. What is Washington doing? They just watched Marquez Callaway just like jump up and grab it on them. Like, have some pride. Like, go up and slap that ball or something. What are you doing? And this is what I wanted to see of the Saints. High scoring, Jameis Winston throwing. Saints doing what the Saints should be doing, which is taking advantage of what their quarterback can do and living and dying by that sword. Because if we're gonna die on my terms. That's what Sean Payton should be saying, right? Not because we are too conservative, not because we left something out, not because we didn't do something. If we're gonna fail, we're gonna fail spectacularly. And Washington, bad team. Like it's a bad team. It's Heineke kind of, to a lesser degree doing what Jalen Hurts does, like manufacturing points, staying a little relevant, but you can't keep up with a good team with a good game plan that sticks to their guns. And the defense is just bad. Like it is like one of the greatest like anomalies of the year is like, how is this defense playing as bad as it is? The secondary, I understand, but holy shit, that defensive front, get it together. You guys they're all so talented. We've seen you do it, and then just everybody's not producing. Chase Young is getting some pressures and stuff like that, but that's not good enough. You gotta find the other gear, because if you want to help your team, it's not gonna get any better if you don't do anything, and you gotta help them, because this team could be in it. Like, your offense is good enough if your defense can start pulling its weight, right? And like, I know your offense isn't great, but like I said, it's good enough to compete, to stay in games more. But they're not getting it. So we're going to be picking against Washington. The Saints look like they could be a great pick. We might be losing the Panthers as a bettable thing, in a bettable team in the future, but the Saints could be, this new team that we're looking into if Sean Payton can keep up this play calling tendency with Jameis, utilizing him for what he can do. All right, Dolphins, Bucks. Yeah, like I said, we didn't learn anything from this. Bucks are a good team. Dolphins are a bad team without Tua. They got slapped. I kind of feel like, this isn't a science stats or anything like that, but the Dolphins have been getting like absolutely pumped game after game after game. And I know their defense is tired. They're on the field a lot. There's a lot of talent there. But at some point, I think mentally, they might just be giving up. And even if Tua comes back, it's like, yeah, that might inspire you. But like, how much so does that inspire you? Like, you might just be in this rut, in this like habit of just getting like beaten like this. Like, it's not looking good for the Dolphins. We might be picking against the Dolphins as frequently as we can. But yeah, it sucks to see. Super talented team that's just not performing, due to injuries and other stuff. But pick against the Dolphins. Take the Bucks when you can. Well-oiled machine. They're killing it. Not too much to learn from this game, just because the corners and stuff were injured. Still nursing some injuries, and nobody was there to really take advantage of them. Like in Jacoby Brissett and stuff, he couldn't take advantage, tell us anything about it. So, yeah, that's just football, I guess. Sucks to suck. All right, the next game, Steelers, Broncos, 27-19. Another game I had my eye on. It was like, okay, what are the Broncos? They should be able to beat the shitty Steelers, and they couldn't beat the Steelers. This is wild. Like, Najee Harris had a bit of a coming out. Huge game, and he like barely played the fourth quarter because of cramps and stuff like that. Unreal stat line, got a touchdown and all that. We're still not touching the Steelers. I think it's great that TJ Watt's healthy. I think this is just Teddy Bridgewater coming back down to earth, similar to what like Sam Darnold did. Teddy was like lighting it up with those receivers and stuff, and with this game, he just wasn't. Through that interception, the end zone and stuff was terrible. So Yeah, I think again it's just like what do you do? Because there's really no other option. Like if you're the Broncos, right, and you think that the Raiders might be wanting to just take the season to clean house, would you want to trade for Derek Carr? I think in a perfect world that would be awesome to keep your team relevant because I think Derek Carr is a good enough quarterback for that team to get everything he wants out of it. But it's in division, like how do you get the trade done? What's the worth and stuff like that. But in terms of compensation, what's the worth? But holy shit, that would have been a perfect marriage, a perfect opportunity to get like a guy that you know could do it, that could though you could take like what Teddy did those 3 games and be a little bit better, but be a little bit better and consistently be that good. Whereas Teddy is like, oh sweet, Teddy had those 3 games, but it's like now it's like, how was his last game? Oh, how was his this game? It's like, well now what do we have to do? Like he's such a like a seesaw of a quarterback. The highs are like okay, but the lows just fucking slap you on the floor. And just like games like this ruin your season. Like when you want to make playoffs, I know this is about Survivor, but when you want to make playoffs, you got to beat these Steelers teams, right? You can't let them beat you. That's sewer teams like so many teams in the past. But so we're gonna start. The Broncos still have a good defense, still have a good offense, but I don't think we can ever really use the Broncos comfortably as long as Teddy Bridgewater is the quarterback. All right, so the Browns versus Chargers. This is okay. This is a wild game. The Browns have the best roster in the NFL. The Browns have some of the best players in the NFL on that team. The Browns produce. The Browns are a good football team. But holy shit, Baker Mayfield is like he's just an observer at quarterback. This is like all credit to him for all the good work he has done in the past. But this year he is not contributing in a positive manner to that team. And when they need him to contribute, it's so wild because you see these stats that they've put up in this game, like scoring 42 points is usually good enough. Like against a Chargers defense, like usually good enough. But he was like missing OBJ, like running wide open, like didn't even throw to him, like just chose to throw to Njoku and stuff like that. It was mind boggling. I saw some of the decisions he was making, and I was just like, how, like, at least try and get it to him, or at least try and make the throw. I know you're hurt and stuff like that, but like, it's wild. And moving forward, the Browns, you can still pick the Browns to win games, and still the Browns are bettable. But just to talk about the Browns for a second, they need to figure out what they want to do with Baker Mayfield moving forward. Because if this is the guy, if the last 2 years, if last year and this year are the guy you have moving forward, I would trade I would trade Baker Mayfield for Derek Carr. Like, I would get Derek Carr over Baker Mayfield on this team, and I think this team's better for it. I think you should send what's the people like I'm like move on from Baker Mayfield. People are like, what's the alternative? I'm like, well, just anything to try, because you could put Case Keenum back there, and Case Keenum probably runs his offense just as officially or slightly worse than Baker Mayfield, but that doesn't really impact this team at all. So like fuck, I don't know. It's just another like side little tangent. I want like they built such a stellar roster, like probably one of the best rosters I've ever seen of all time in football. That isn't just like a 1 year like roster type of thing, and wow. And but yeah, they're bettable moving forward. We can pick them. We can comfortably take them to beat bad teams, but against these good teams, we're gonna have to reconsider because it becomes a firefight like this, or like what could happen if they had to play the Ravens or something like that. I don't think you can comfortably take the Browns in those games. Chargers, one of the best teams in the NFL. I talked about it. Defense is stacked, offense is stacked. Herbert's figured it out. He's unfazed by everything. He's going to throw it. They're going to score points. Brandon Staley's probably one of my favorite coaches in the NFL right now. You just hear him talk in all of his press conferences. This guy just understands statistics. This guy understands tendencies. This guy understands game theory, and he's vocal about it. He talks about it. He references it, and he's pretty upfront about what it means to how he runs his team, what's important to him, and yeah, this guy's incredible. I absolutely love him as a coach. All right, but yeah, both those teams bettable moving forward. Use them when you can. Use them against bad teams when you can too. Even better. Next game, 49ers Cardinals. This is a really interesting game because Trey Lance came in, and Trey Lance was missing throws, but Trey Lance's legs kept the 49ers relevant. And that's what we wanted to see. So it's like, are these guys a Jalen Hurts and the Eagles situation where it's just like, okay, like depending on who the 49ers are playing, like this is a playable team? No, I think Jalen Hurts was throwing the ball better than Trey Lance, and I would trust the Eagles if I ever had to pick like a bottom team to like beat. And then even though even though the 49ers defense is much better than the Eagles defense. I wouldn't touch the 49ers because I just think there's too much going on there, because Shanahan's mentioned how he wants Jimmy Garoppolo to be the quarterback of this team. Trey Lance is not ready. And then when they have the head coach saying that, I can't expect any confidence in myself I can't comfortably take a 49ers team that I know whose head coach like doesn't even want that quarterback to be playing like this year, this game, whatever, right? Like that's such a like a disconnect for me. So I would never touch the 49ers. And it's a shame. Good defense. It feels like a lot of their offense is healthy, like outside of some running back issues, but like, the wide receivers and stuff are, and George Kittle needs to come back healthy. But Cardinals, banged up. They lost Rodney Hudson in the center. They were missing their two top cornerbacks as well, something to note, which is a part of the productivity of the 49ers offense against them. But, Kyler pulled it out. He got a little banged up as well. I don't think his injury is serious, so I think the Cardinals are a really good team to go moving forward. Next game is against the Browns, so I wouldn't take them then, but I think a big star people should have is the Cardinals versus the Texans the week after. That's going to be a really, really good time to take the Cardinals, kind of just like take that week and run with it. And then the next game, 49ers we won't really be betting on. Cardinals, we know what they are. We relatively know what they are. I still think the Cardinals are below some of the best teams in the league, so we're going to have to be careful when they're taking on top talent. Like I think they play later in the season, but I wouldn't be comfortable taking the Cardinals against like the Rams or something like that, even though they've beaten the Rams. But yeah. Okay, so Bills, Chiefs. Oh, this turned into a good team versus bad team. Like I talk about those matchups, taking like Cowboys over Giants, good team versus bad team. Yeah, the Chiefs are a bad team. Holy shit. I saw a really interesting take where it was like the greatest show on turf, like widely like accepted as like one of the top 5 offenses of all time, like averaged like almost like 8 yards a play for a whole season, and the Chiefs defense averages about 8 yards a play. So the Chiefs defense is so bad that they turn any offense that plays against them into the greatest show on turf. Isn't that like, that's just a fucking hilarious stat. They turn like every I just thought that was so funny, and it's like an interesting way of looking at it, but that should put into perspective how bad this Chiefs defense is. And I've been talking about this weeks past. When Patrick Mahomes isn't connecting with Tyreek Hill on random like deep balls, and Travis Kelce on like random like blown coverage slot like routes and stuff like that, like this team loses. It's not good. It's not bankable. It's not, consistent. It's finally kind of hit this wall. You're seeing the Bills use the too high safety. The Ravens use the too high safety, like changing up to looks, going from Tampa 2, Savage 2, like switching it up multiple times. And like it's getting Mahomes, and it's fooling Tyreek Hill, and he's like never opened and stuff. And I don't want to say like the NFL's figured it out, because at any point the Chiefs could just flick a switch, be the best team again. Their defense is still shit, but their offense can make it work. But they really need to figure out if they need to get another weapon, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't figuring it out, or isn't at what they expected him to be. The Chiefs, I don't want to bet the Chiefs to win any game until they can show me that they're on like a 4-game win streak coming up to the end of the year, need to make playoffs, and it's do or die. Like that's when I'll start taking the Chiefs, but like not now. So I wouldn't take teams against the Chiefs, but I wouldn't be picking the Chiefs to win games. And then the Bills. I think the Bills, probably one of the best teams in football. I think the defense still has a bunch of question marks, but they're producing. Like I said, they're coached by an incredible defensive mind who will have them playing good no matter what. So Bills, good team. Chiefs, bad team. Take the Bills when you can. Colts 25, Ravens 31. So I'm really lucky that I put this video off, because I think the landscape of the AFC kind of needed this game to be played out before we talk about it, in the way that the Ravens beat the Colts, which was with that frantic fourth quarter. And obviously this is a missed kick, so there's going to be a little bit of asterisk. Like if that dude's healthy, like Blankenship's healthy, they're winning that game 9 times out of 10. But I think the Ravens have shown that they're very inconsistent within a game. I don't think I've seen a consistent game from the Ravens. So, as much as I do believe the Ravens will get wins, and as much as I do believe that the Ravens are a good team despite all their injuries, I do not think that the Ravens are ever going to be a comfortable pick within Survivor, because it's going to take a team that isn't Detroit or slightly better than Detroit. It's going to take a team that just has a healthy kicker, and it's going to take a Kansas City Chiefs team that doesn't have the ball punched out by Queen, to have these games go the other way. And I know that there's so many football games where, if this didn't happen, then they would have won. If this didn't happen, then they would have won. And I get it, but I think it's so much more, I think, definitive of what the Ravens' identity is this year, which is really is a team that's playing by the skin of their teeth and surviving by the skin of their teeth, that I don't want to touch them. I would never feel comfortable taking them, because a lot of these games, and I don't want to say they're playing down to their opponent, but in a lot of these games, they're butting heads with their opponent. It never feels like the Ravens are imposing their will on a game and getting the script that they want, getting the results that they want. It wasn't until they went into a hurry up offense in the fourth quarter where they had to just, pump seams, go outside, quick passes, that they were making it down. That's not the Ravens game, but the Bills impose their will, win games. The who else? The Cardinals impose their will against the Rams, win games. The Bucks impose their will, win games. We can't talk about the Ravens with those types of definitive victories, because they haven't had any. They've just been taking what the other team's giving them and hanging on, and then we need 60 billion yard field goals, and we need these overtime drives and stuff to win. So just for that, I hope the Ravens are good, because I like the Ravens. I think Lamar Jackson's a great quarterback, but I would not be comfortable taking the Ravens. And then the Colts, yeah, I think Carson Wentz held them back a bit too. He had a okay game, but you just saw the decision making wasn't there. I don't think it's all on Carson Wentz. I think the weapons, I don't think there's enough talk about the weapons on the Colts offense not being, top talent. And I think in the AFC, when you want to contend on any level, you have to have, a team that's a team that can step into a firefight. And I just don't think they can. I just don't see Michael Pittman and Mo Alley Cox going against another team's receiver, tight end or situation. I think I may have missed one game, but that's it. Yeah, Colts. I don't want to say they're a bad team, but they're a team I would never pick. I think we can comfortably pick against the Colts, depending on the team. But Jags, Titans. Titans won. Yeah, again, this is similar to the Raiders situation with the Jags. It's just, I know I said I didn't want to touch that game because the Titans were coming off the loss to the Jets, and anything is possible when your head is hung that low. But the Titans just did what the Titans did. I don't think they did it to the Jaguars, so that doesn't change the way I feel about the Titans at all. I still think any week that the Titans probably have a better chance of losing a game than winning a game. The only reason they'll make playoffs is because the AFC South is garbage, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are, I think Urban Meyer has got to figure out if he even wants to be in the NFL with some of these headlines right now. And, sucks to be Trevor Lawrence, but he deserves better. I think he's one of this generational talent that we haven't seen since Andrew Luck. And, I don't think he's getting the opportunity he deserves. But, all right, guys, those are, before I go off on too many tangents about just football in general, not Survivor stuff, those are my thoughts, my Week 5 review. I hope you guys appreciate whatever I had to think of. Hopefully this helps clarify anything on any games that you may not have seen and, teams' values moving forward in fantasy. Have a good one.